Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Yesterday I promised that I would do this video if we managed to get 200 likes on yesterday's upload. So here we are. We managed to smash that 200 likes goal, and we're here today to talk about 5 free agents Celtic should look at this summer. Oh, I love these kind of videos, you know that? Before we get into the video very quickly, thank you all for hitting 27k this morning on the channel, another massive landmark, so thank you. It's just crazy how quickly we're growing, especially over the past year. It's been great, so let's keep that up. As I said, I want to try and hit 30k as quickly as possible, so keep pressing that big red subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get this channel as big and as good as we can. So yesterday Celtic completed the signing of Asasio Ragide after I made a video literally like 2 or 3 hours beforehand saying we could be signing him or we're in talks with him. So it's good to see that get over the line, but it just signifies that the transfer window is well and truly open, and Celtic now need to start their business and get players through the door for what is a massive rebuild season. On that note, contracts have expired all around the world. You know, it is now July, so contracts have expired, players are free agents, and Celtic are free to speak to anybody who is of course a free agent. Now, in this video, I'm going to run through 5 players I think Celtic could and should consider, but by no means am I saying that they're going to sign them. I'm not saying it's realistic. They're just 5 players I would ideally like to see at Celtic in a perfect world if the scouts were somehow listening to this video. The reason I say that is because someone recently said that I make up rumours when I have never done so in my life, so let's just avoid all of that. So a bit of fun here, let's go through 5 players, let's try and do it as quick fire as possible, because you know what happens with these videos. I say I want to be here for just 10 minutes and then I'm editing it and it's 25 minutes long because I've spent 5 minutes on each player. So we're genuinely quick fire going to go through each of these players. 5 that could come to Celtic, let's go. I've just realised I said could come to Celtic there. Better using the word should, because they're probably not going to be at Celtic. Player number 1, Josh King, a player who we've spoke about actually quite a bit before on this channel and on the podcast when Eddie Howe was being linked with the manager's job. Formerly of Bournemouth and most recently Everton, Josh King is a striker who could come in and strengthen our options up top. Now, his last year of his career hasn't been great. He made 11 appearances last season for Everton in the Premier League. He's now had a bit of a go at Carlo Ancelotti for lying to him. It's a long story. So he's had a bit of a weird limbo in the past year of his career, but he's someone who has shown considerable talent in the Premier League before. Making 172 Premier League appearances, he scored 48 goals and assisted 15 as well, with a rampant 16-17 campaign, if you remember, when Bournemouth had quite an impressive year that season. He was brilliant, 16 goals in 32. A lot of people were ranting and raving about him, and the Norwegians certainly got a bit of an eye on him. There was a few teams that were looking at him at that time. He's 29 or 30 years old now. He's still got a lot of pace, though. That was one quality that he always had at Bournemouth, was his pace. He's someone who could be a different dynamic, I feel, at Celtic. He's different from Edouard, Dembele, the players that have been our striking options for the last couple of years. Someone that comes in with a bit of pace, can get in behind, but also a good enough ability up top. Will Celtic get a player like him now that Eddie Howe is not Celtic manager? I very much doubt it. It was more a realistic rumour when he was meant to be the man for the job, but he's certainly someone who's still a free agent and could be an option. Player number 2, Felix Demecha, only 20 years old. He's obviously still young and got a considerable way to go in his career, but he's just been let go from Man City after being brought up through the entire youth system. Now, a lot of people automatically might look at that and go, well, it wasn't good enough for them, there's a reason he's been released. But you've got to remember the Manchester City Youth Academy is a very competitive and, in my opinion, not the best in the world. Yes, of course, in terms of creating players, yeah, it's really good to create some great players and have the best facilities and system in place there, but you know, with the way that Man City work and just spending 40, 50, 60 million pounds on players time and time again, a lot of these younger guys who come through this system are never getting a chance because there's people ahead of them in the queue that are just being brought in for bags of cash. Of course, Phil Foden sort of broke that mould and he's now going on to be one of the best and most watched players in the world, but there's a lot of guys who go through that system and just never get the chance because of the money they spend on big names. Felix Demecha is someone who could be of use to Celtic, 20 years old, an attacking midfielder with a lot of talent too. I think his brother still plays down there also. Someone if you brought in and you developed and they done well, bringing that talent from Man City, which is obviously going to be good enough, I think, for Celtic, then, you know, we could sell on for a considerable fee in the future. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've seen him play a lot. I haven't. I've seen clips of him. I've seen maybe the odd game here or there in the Premier League too. But he's someone who I feel like could be good enough to at least come in and be an option for Celtic behind the likes of David Turnbull. There's obviously that City group link there, which Celtic have used over the past few years, and even most recently with Ange Postecoglou, you could say, as Yokohama Marinos were part of that City group. Last year, just to make sure I get it right, altogether in the Premier League too, 40 appearances, 15 goals. He's worked well at an under-18s level too. He could be someone that Celtic develop into a good player. Player 3, Ezgan Alioski of North Macedonia, who has just became a free agent. Now, this one is the most unlikely of any if they were to come to fruition somehow out of the whole list. It looks as though he's close to completing a move to Turkish side Trabzonspor. So that means it looks as though it's pretty much dead in the water if Celtic were to ever somehow make a move. I'm a big fan of this guy, and I think he offers something that Celtic don't have, and that's a physical fullback. Because a lot of our fullbacks in most recent times are starting fullbacks, you know, the likes of Taylor, the likes of Frimpong, have been smaller, fast guys, which of course suit the system of Celtic, but they've been very easy to bully off the ball, and I think they've been very weak at points, especially against tougher opposition. Alioski's a bigger guy, and for Macedonia and Leeds last season, he has impressed me. I quite like him, I must admit. He done well with the 3 appearances that he managed to get at the Euros, scoring against the Ukraine as well. And Leeds last season, he was no mug, 37 appearances, 2 goals, 3 assists. He's just a player I think it's got it all as a left back, and he could really thrive in Scotland. 29 years old also, but he gets forward, he likes to move with the ball, he's still got pace for being a bit older, and he's got that physical presence. So it's something that Celtic, and I think Trabzonspor are apparently getting him for 20 grand a week. I don't know if Celtic could maybe stretch that far, but for a free agent and someone who's been playing at a very high level in the Premier League for Bielsa's Leeds and done well at the Euros, I feel like it's something Celtic should just nip in and try and get. But of course, you've got to manage your expectations and look at what the realistic scenario is. Jonas Stenson formerly of AZ Alkmaar, a right back, and of course the right back position is one of the positions we need to improve on most. We only have Anthony Ralston there just now. We don't have anyone else, and I think Jonas Stenson could be someone who could improve that tenfold. For me, he's a better option than George Baldock. He's got experience in playing the Europa League, he's got experience playing at international level, and he's played for 2 solid sides in Rosenborg and AZ Alkmaar most recently. I like him. I think he could be solid, and we just need to get that right back depth as probably get as much as we can. When 2 or 3 players need to come in, I think, across that position, so he could be an option. 23 appearances for the Norwegian national team. He knows Christopher Ayer well, so maybe we can try and influence him to stay. 80 appearances in Eredivisie last season. He's playing for a decent enough side. I like him. And I think, once again, as a free agent, is a player that Celtic should maybe look into. And finally, Andros Townsend, the player on this list that you probably know the most about. I don't need to explain too much about Andros Townsend. He's someone who we see in the television quite a lot. He's been in the Premier League for quite a while now. He's been a bit of a mainstay in there, playing with the likes of QPR, Spurs, Newcastle, Crystal Palace. He's now 29 years old and without a club, and I think Celtic could be the perfect destination for him. It kind of gives me Scott Sinclair vibes in a way, when he was at Aston Villa and he was around a similar age. I think he may have been a bit younger than Townsend, but you know, a winger that's ready to go in and probably be the star again at a team. He could come to Celtic and I think do that with Forrest being the right winger. Maybe he doesn't get into the team as easily as what Sinclair did back in the day, but he's certainly someone who can offer competition on that right hand side, and an area which we need competition and we need more depth. He's made almost 250 appearances in the Premier League, and I don't care who you are or what you say about it. You don't make nearly 250 appearances by being a bad player. Or you've obviously got the talent, and he's scored some worldies in his time. A tricky, fast player at his best. A little less pace now as he's getting older, but at his best, he was really tricky, really fast. Scored a couple of worldies. I've always kind of liked him, and I think there's nothing wrong with bringing in a player with a bit of experience who can help nurture younger players, add competition to Forrest's place, and do us a bit of good when he's on the park, because he's obviously going to have the talent. The only negative with someone like Townsend is I think that Forrest being around 30 years old means you'd rather a right winger who's maybe younger to come into the squad rather than Townsend who's a similar age. But I don't think you can argue with the talent that's there and what we know about him. The big problem would be wage. Probably been on quite a decent wage in his time at the Premier League. He probably feels like he can still get a decent wage and maybe a Premier League move, but someone Celtic should look at. So that does it. There we go. 5 players Celtic I think should look at in this free agency. I think they're all solid options, if I say so myself. Now, do I expect Celtic to sign any of them? Absolutely not. But it's a bit of fun anyway to look at the options out there that we could maybe go for. I'm trying to trust Ange anyway in the process of bringing in his own players. So it'll be interesting to see where we go. If you have enjoyed, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know your opinions below. And I'll see you all next time.